What if the very thing that you feared most as a father became the greatest gift that brought you closer than ever before? This episode is about healing the father-son wound, not through fixing, saving, or controlling, but by witnessing, surrendering, and showing up. What high-achieving men need to hear in this episode: you can't outperform your way to connection. Control is not the currency of fatherhood. Presence is. Sometimes the voice you're trying to give your son only emerges when you find your own. And what if your child isn't broken, but was born to break the generational patterns? Welcome to Inside Man, the podcast for high-achieving men ready to win from the inside out. Today's episode is deeply personal to me. From silence to spotlight, a father's journey to hear his son's voice. I'm joined by someone who's taught me more about life, love, and leadership than any boardroom has, my son, Rome.
What's going on, Dad? How are you?
Oh, man. Well, this is a good get for me, man.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of celebrity on my...
Wow. You're putting me up on the celebrity mantle right now? Are you serious?
On my podcast, but I have my son, and I talk about you often, but it's really cool to be here and really having you share yourself along the journey. And, you know, we high-achieving men, you know, we go into work and we're alpha. We show up, we're known. People look up to us. People maybe not look up to us, but they at least honor us as the leader. And then, you know, I come home and I'm trying to, you know, I haven't been taught by any power of example as a dad. So, you know, I was really scared to be a dad. I'm going to be honest. I was like, I didn't know how to do it. And like, you know, most of us high achieving men, we like know how to do it. Go on YouTube University, figure it out. Or like, this is like dealing with human beings. And like, we tend to not know how to do that, you know, or coming from an alpha position isn't always the most effective, or I know it's not the most effective, you know, so shifting gears, coming from this place we go to work in, you know, 70% of our waking hours, then come home and be a dad is a big deal. So today we're going to unpack the whole idea of being a dad and, you know, and the whole idea of like getting behind the scenes from a really tough journey that we were on, you know, given your background and stuff. So let's just start there. Take me back to, you know, leading up to 5 years old. Take me back to what it was like for you at that time.
I think for me at that time, like, because I was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2 years old. And at that time, I couldn't really remember a whole lot of stuff that was going on inside my head. Like, it was very kind of just, I felt like non-existent in my own space.
Yeah.
But I felt like when I turned 5, all of a sudden, like the switch flipped in my head. I'm like, okay, like I'm actually myself. Like I'm actually being myself and I'm being a human being and I'm kind of existing in this world that, you know, I wasn't really existing in before for the most part.
Yeah. Let's talk about yourself here, because I remember sitting at a dinner table and you were always such a good, kind kid at school, but you were having trouble in school. And I remember sitting down at the kitchen table because mom goes, we need to have a family talk. And you know, the family kitchen table talk, you know, those
fabled discussions at the dinner table. Yep.
And she's like, what was the kid's name you were having a tough time with?
Avery, I think his name is. Yeah. Shout out Avery. I talked to him the other day. He actually DM'd me on LinkedIn like a couple months ago. I was like, hey, like when are you going to be back in New York? We never actually end up
that's so cool.
meeting up. But Avery, shout out to you, bro. You were the one that kind of started this whole thing for better or for worse, at least. But yeah, I remember having that conversation with you. I think it was at the like kitchen counter, like when we were still living in downtown New York. And I was like, I feel like I felt like I think the basis of what I was saying to you is basically the old self-news conversation. What that means is like, I felt like I wanted to kind of shed the skin away from my old self and bring it to a new me that can hopefully kind of just be the normal me and not be associated with what I was dealing with before.
Yeah.
And now I felt like I wanted to kind of, like I said, shed my skin and transition out of that into what I am now, hopefully, and we'll continue to try and grow that in the future. It's just, you know, being a normal human being and just trying to exist in this world and, you know, just trying to be the best me that I could possibly be.
What's the point of scaling if you suffer through the process? What's the point of selling if you've got nothing left to enjoy it? I'm Gary Cady. I built a successful business and nearly lost myself in doing it. That's why I created Scale, Sell, Smile. a free training for entrepreneurs making $500K or more who want to exit their business without sacrificing their peace, family, or freedom. You'll learn how to build a sellable company, why buyers look for owner independence, and how to stop grinding and start leading with presence. Click here to join. It's time to scale smart, sell strong, and finally smile. Yeah, so take me back to the way you described what it was like for you from like 0 to like 5. And this was the turning point. You had your old self and your new self. Let's talk about the old self. What was it like to live inside that, the way you described it that one time?
It was kind of hard to describe because I can barely remember it for the most part, because I feel like I was like, that's also part of it too. Like I wasn't really myself because I wasn't really the best version of me that I could possibly be. And I know I'm not going to be the best version of me like throughout my life. I'm always going to be growing. I'm always going to be improving on certain things. But I feel like at that time, I'm like, okay, I feel like there's something like not really working. It's just, it was like nothing was really working for me at that time. Like it was very kind of, it's hard to explain because I wasn't really in it at that time. But like now that I turned 5 at that point and now I've progressed into what I am now, like I feel like I'm more myself now than I've ever been.
Yeah, you keynoted a autism awareness program. And that keynote, you spoke about being underwater. Like you opened up the keynote by having us close our eyes and be underwater. Like describe that.
Well, part of the reason why is because, you know, I just felt like it would be, I wanted to create like a powerful analogy, and you guys kind of helped me bring that to life when we were trying to prep for my speech and everything.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you or mom said this, but like, what would it, like, it would be like really cool to have a powerful moment like this. Or I don't know if I said something like this. I don't actually remember, but like it was, I wanted to create a powerful moment that people can exactly like understand what I was going through to like the general public. So
let's do it right now.
Yeah. So if you guys are watching at home, close your eyes. I'll try my best to remember what I said in the speech, but close your eyes and try and remember, or try and imagine what it's like to be in the deep sea ocean blue. You're like really almost at the bottom of the ocean floor, and you just see this like color royal blue around you with absolutely nothing. And when I mean nothing, I mean absolutely nothing around you. It's just blue water and just you kind of floating around in the abyss, just hanging there with nothing to kind of grab onto or see or feel or anything. And then, you know, as I started to grow out of it, I could start to like, imagine you're starting to come up to shore and swim up to shore and kind of progressively start to swim your way up to the top. And then I think at about, you guys can open your eyes now. And I think about 5 years old, I started to kind of see the world around me as my head came up through the water and started looking around, metaphorically, of course, like I could actually do something. And then I started to swim my way to shore and become the teenager and young man that I am today, at least for the most part.
Whew. Well, that was some journey there. I loved going through that.
It's hard doing that without words in front of you to do that, but I try my best to recreate that for you guys at home, wherever you guys are watching this on YouTube or listening to this or whatever.
Yeah, it's great. But what I love about that is I want to highlight this here of compassion for human beings.
Right.
See, we don't know what's going on for a person. Now let's rewind. You're 3 years old. I'm reading a book to you because that's what you do at the end of the night, like, you know, end of the day.
Children's book, all typical stuff.
So I remember Mr. Stickleback book and then Goodnight Moon. And I would read Goodnight Moon to you and you would be flapping your arms. You wouldn't be paying attention. You're kind of looking around. And it's hard to speak to, you know, this angel that you love. And like, you don't even, like, it was like I wasn't even there. So it felt like you weren't listening to me.
Yeah.
And I was sad. And one of the things I've learned when I was younger, and I couldn't distinguish this is important for high achieving men. We get angry, but what's underneath it is sadness.
Right.
See, most high achieving men don't know how to process sadness. So what we do is we either numb it, like I was doing with alcohol, or we lash out in anger, which by the way is the same adrenaline rush as being drunk. So it does something to our internal state. So I remember like silently suffering after reading to you and sad, but I would leave there and be angry and get in a fight with mom.
Right.
Just because it was triggered by this thing that I didn't process. And so we were all stuck as a family. And so I finally talked to mom and I said, Jude, I'm having a really hard time. I said, I haven't said anything, but like, I told her I was sad. I'm scared. I'm all these things. And she's like, he's diagnosed with autism. He's not autistic. We're going to go to work. He has a diagnosis that could change. See, back in the day, in the early days of autism, you're 20 now, about 18 years ago, it wasn't like as understood as it is today. So we were lost. And I remember being angry and I would go to work angry. I would take my anger from home and sadness from home into the workplace and take it out of my employees, which was unfair to them. But it's like, we don't know how to process this as high achieving men. That's why I created Inside Man.
Yeah. And that's why I really credit you for doing something like this, because I mean, I was going to say this off the top too. Like at first when I heard you started doing this, I'm like, I kind of was, not to say that I wasn't like a fan of it, because, I am, but it's weird because I'm like, this is my dad doing something like this. Like I'm not used to seeing him on my Instagram timeline every single day on my phone. Like that's a weird sight to see as your 20-year-old son. But I do respect it because what you're doing is helpful for, high achieving men, as you say, and like other people too watching this. It's not just about high achieving men specifically. It's about like anyone could benefit from whatever I have to say in my story and everything like that, which is why I kept doing those keynotes at the Autism Awareness Program and the Gala Nights and all that, just because I feel like my story is so important for people to hear, because like you said, people families that have children with autism are always kind of in that lost space of like, oh, well, we don't know what to do. Like, where's the solution? We're just going to give up. Like, I'm living proof that you shouldn't give up. I'm living proof that you can have a successful life. And like, not to say that like you can magically just be cured from autism, because there's still a little bit inside of me. I'll own up to that any day of the week. But you can still live a great life and you could still be treated well and, given the right medication, the vitamins, the diets, all of that, to just clean that out of your system. So that way you can still live a normal life as a human being.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, son. Thank you for your acknowledgement. I did not think I'd be on your Instagram feed as well.
I just followed you because you're my dad, honestly.
Well, it's nice because you could be rejecting me too. Is there a reject feed?
No, there's not.
But there's a block you could block.
I could block you, but like, I mean, you're my dad. Why would I block you? That's weird.
There's some sons that block their dad.
That is a little weird though, I'll admit. Like I tell you guys all the time, you guys annoy me to death sometimes, but I still love you. So like I have to pay that respect in some way.
But let's go back. Back in the day, there was no hope. I had no hope. And mom said, keep reading to him, keep reading to him, keep reading to him. He's in there.
Right.
And that's the message here. Like you said, if I got a lesson, it's like, don't give up on people.
Right.
Don't give up on people until the miracle happens. Sometimes we're built to do hard things as people.
Yeah.
And like, but when we don't know what to do, that's why I created Inside Man, because I wanted to get behind the scenes to the stuff that's really happening in life between a father and a son, a husband and a wife. And you said, the reason why I chose men is because I have a lot of experience on my own, and I went from suffering to joy, and I want to share that with as many men as I can, because here's why, Rome. The family gets transformed. The workplace gets transformed, and the man himself gets transformed. There's a lot of places for women to go to express their concerns and their issues, and they do a really good job at communicating with one another, but there's no outlet for men. And what we do is we stuff it down. I hope there's like one lesson that you get, and I want to actually bring it up.
Right.
You don't stuff things down. You get into action about things, and it's miraculous to me.
No, because it's really just because you guys taught me right from wrong. I always say that because you guys always tell me like, oh, well, you did the work, and I'm like, no, like I've seen what you guys do. And you hold yourself to a high standard. I'm like, okay, I have to reach that. That's how like I'm supposed to be. It seems like I feel like, just kind of building off that men's mental health thing that you brought up, it's such a big thing, especially in my generation too. Like I see all these like creators on like Instagram and TikTok and whatever that's like, oh, well, if you go in the gym and like lift like 200 pounds, like you'll be cured from men's mental health. And I'm like, sure, gym's a great place to do that with, but sometimes it gets kind of misconstrued with other avenues of certain things. And I think if we can kind of streamline it better into a more like singular topic that all men can focus and not just have to rely on getting ripped and swole like a bodybuilder in order to cure themselves from their problems.
Yeah.
Like there's other ways that they can cure this. And for you and your, audience and everything like that, that could help them out as well.
Yeah, it's really an interesting thing to really like look behind the scenes and like go inside. Because many men, what we try to do is rearrange our external world to feel better on the inside. Like I just got a deal on the drive here.
Of course you did.
Like a beautiful.
This guy always is securing sales, guys. We all know this by now. I'm looking straight at you.
I love playing the game of business and winning.
It's funny. It's really funny. Like you can try and take the business out of Gary Katie, but never take Gary Katie out of the business world, because this guy's always going to stay in it for life. Because this guy always gets an endorphins kick out of it, it seems. I have to deal with that for the past 20 years, you guys. This is what it is at this point.
I love sports, and to me, business,
because it's a competitive sport for you. It's we always say like, oh, like, well, if you couldn't make it to the MLB or the NBA or the NFL or the NHL, like you got to get that competitive spirit somehow. And I guess for you, it's business, because you always want to make some money, like even when you're in retirement.
Well, I love it.
Quote unquote retirement, as you like to call it now these days.
Well, I mean, like
I got this guy in shambles, guys. I do this all the time with him, so don't worry if he gets speechless.
It's mind blowing to me that you make fun of me, and I love how much fun you make of me.
No, because it's so easy, guys. It's the easiest thing in the world.
Well, it's like, you don't laugh with me, you laugh at me, and I want you to laugh at me, because that means that like you're listening. No, because you do
the craziest stuff sometimes. Like it's insane. I won't get into details, but like it's wild.
Get
sometimes.
Into details. You don't fully transparent.
Well, because it's like at home, like you could be like kind of wilding out a little bit, and it's like what are you doing? Like it's like with the Yankees game, we hear the boo 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 boo. I hear that and I'm like, Dad, I just got home from work. I just got done with my internship job. I'm like, oh my goodness, I got to hear that every time I walk in the door. But that's who you are, though. You're just that like high energy person that's never gonna get away, and you transfer that energy in so many different ways. So I don't know. It's just this is who he is.
Oh my god.
It's just you're a one of a kind in good and in bad ways sometimes.
Thank you. All right, so let's get back to the mission of the message. And it's like one of the things that Mom always taught me. Like this was a big learning lesson for high achieving men,
right?
Which is like I thought I had to assert myself on you,
right?
Presence is all that's needed for men. Like
100%.
Mom taught me. She said, "Look, you're imposing. You're 6 feet tall." Now I used to be 240. Now I'm 182.
Hey, shout out the weight loss journey.
Metabolic reset. And Sachin Patel. But well, let's stay focused here, please.
Yeah. Go ahead.
All right. So it's like we have to be careful of asserting, mansplaining, forcing our will on our kids and our wives. We just need to show up and just sitting there quietly. And then you would ask if you need help, or Mom asks if we need help. Like that was a big learning lesson for me. Mm-hmm. And nobody in my life was a power of example of that. And it wasn't until I stopped trying to assert my voice and what I thought I wanted in you, because this happens to a lot for high achieving men. Like there was things that I didn't achieve and I was imposing them on you, which wasn't fair.
Right.
I had to stop that. That is like that's dysfunctional.
Yeah. Very.
And it really, you had to find your own voice, and I had to trust that. And that was very different than the way I was brought up, right? There was like an assertion of that. So, going back to you finding your way, your old self, your new self, you come up above the water, you start being able to interact with the world. You had sensory processing issues. You're like, my voice, like, and I was brought up in a home, as you know, that yelling was a whisper. I mean, my dad yelled, he was really loud. My mom was paranoid, scared. So when you're brought up in a house like that, I just was doing the same thing. So I learned to keep quiet and I learned to keep my mouth shut. And then I learned to respond. And by the way, I love this idea. When I learned this, I really resisted the idea of responsibility because it feels like a burden. But mom taught me response versus react. Respond to people versus react. And that's responsibility. The ability to respond. And that learning, that transformation of like reacting, because like, oh man, my son needs to be better and he needs to be okay and all this stuff. So here we are, you come out of the autism. There was a lot of work that was being done there. We found Jenny McCarthy. We followed her protocols with her doctors. You started responding not right away. And I learned never to give up on anybody. And don't give up on yourself. Don't give up. And don't give up on other people, especially obviously a son. I'll never forget your first word. You remember that? Your first word?
Yep. First word was moon, or at that time I said muen with an E. I don't know why an E just came out in the middle of nowhere when I couldn't pronounce two O's, but it came out somehow.
Well, you used to say the M says ba, like you thought M was a B. So
yeah,
your wires were a little
crossed. Yeah, it was a little crossed at that time. You say that much.
But the fact that you were coming out, and I'll never forget it. We were driving home after dinner. We weren't in a lot of hope. We had you in the back seat. I remember the car was a 7 Series Beamer, one of my favorite big sedans.
Yeah.
And you're sitting in the back, and we never heard anything from you when we were driving home from a restaurant. And I remember in Arizona, over the mountains, there was this big harvest moon. And then all of a sudden you were looking out and we heard moon. And Jude and I looked around and it was like your first words.
Yeah.
And that was like your moment coming out of the water. That was my moment of like, oh my gosh, everything that Judas said is true. It's like, keep reading to him. He's in there. You were in there.
Yeah.
You were in there.
And I also got to give credit to her too, because I felt like at that time she was the only one that was really believing in what we were able to do.
Oh yeah.
Because like I said before, not many other parents are like, because they just lose hope. They're like, oh, well, this kid has autism. He's not curable.
Right.
I mean, there technically is a cure. Like I said, you're not magically cured, obviously, from autism.
Right.
But like you can be able to clear most of it out to where you can have a normal life. And that's all credit to her at that point,
So pretty much every father and son has some form of circumstance, right? So if you're listening to this, the lessons are universal here, right? But let's start. We want to help high-achieving men be better dads. We're all here trying to be the best dads we can be. I would really love your advice around what makes a really powerful, great, honorable dad. Like, how would you like help us understand what you need as a son and how we can approach father-son relationship?
I think it really boils down to being this simple, right? Like, it's really as simple as just being present for your children. Is really all it is. Whether it's at a dance recital, whether it's at, a school play, whether it's at a sports game, whatever it is, just be present and be supportive and be understanding of what they're trying to do. Because I'm going to bring this into, our relationship. We've together, you and I have both been through a lot together. We've had a lot of arguments, a lot of just hard conversations that any 13, 14, 15-year-old shouldn't have to deal with, frankly.
Yep.
So it took us a lot to get here. And I thought like, you mentioned the assertiveness and you mentioned dominance is not the right word, but like assertiveness, I'd say this
alpha,
is,
like
alpha.
Because I'm alpha at work. I come home, I'm being alpha with you.
Yeah. So
and that doesn't work, correct?
It definitely does not, because it definitely just shuts us out. It shuts me out. Like every time, like for example, you would yell at me or somebody else would yell at me, I just shut down because I'm like, okay, well, I'm not being heard, so I'm just gonna shut up.
Not being heard, right?
Yeah.
So if you taught me this, it's like I have to like say, here's what I heard you say to me, like give it back to you.
Yeah.
So like you knew I was listening to you, right? Rather than, we're used to fixing, we're used to like solving the problem, like being a high achieving entrepreneur. All we do all day long is like this idea. And by the way, here's what I learned. It was so I didn't have to deal with myself.
Right.
I got really good at solving problems and fixing things because I never had to look inside.
Right.
right?
100%.
So it was a turning point. That's why we don't do that. And that's why we default into caveman fix the problem.
Yeah.
And mom and I came up with like this because she was in the same boat. Like I was fixing everything she was saying to me. Hear, help, hug, right? Do you want a hug? Do you want me to hear you? Do you want me to help you?
Right.
And help is probably 1% of the time. Hear and hug are 99% of the time.
Yeah, and because that's all you need is a family. Like you just need to be there for your children.
Right.
Like again, I'll say it until the cows come home. Be there for your children.
Yeah.
Because that's the most important thing you can be for them, and just to be supportive and be knowledgeable about what they're doing, because it makes us feel like you understand what we're doing.
Yeah.
Like, because I get it. Like some people were only dealt the cards they were dealt with at a certain time, and they didn't really understand how to deal with certain things. Like I'll bring this up with like, I hear stories all the time with like families that immigrated to the US. All they know is like be doctor, lawyer, or engineer, and you're gonna make a ton of money off that. And that's the only route you could possibly do. But what if other people want to go into different things? Like I'm going into media, the sports media business, sports journalism business. What if somebody wants to be an artist, a music artist? What if somebody wants to, be a veterinarian or whatever? Like open that door for them and understand that if that's what they want to do, support them in that. And
Right.
and you, I understand, have kind of gotten that more and more as like the years have gone on. Because there was a time, I mean, you've always been supportive of me, but like I felt like it was hard to connect with you, like I mentioned, because I felt like you were always kind of like not really understanding of what my emotions were and how I approach things.
Yep.
But once you kind of got the help that you needed and understood how you could help me out, then this relationship became a lot cleaner, a lot faster, I think.
Yeah, because I had to find my own voice to be in communication with you. I had to find my own compassion for myself, because I used to speak to myself very poorly. Like if you would have heard me speak to myself in public, people would be appalled. I mean, I used to be a real hard ass on myself and speak like crap to myself. Yeah. And that's why I created Inside Man, because Inside Man, I didn't know to look inside to know that the answer outside starts from the inside out.
Right. 100%.
It totally does. Because no matter how I tried to wax on and just be present and not assert myself, I couldn't stop myself because it was such a survival mechanism for me. And then stopping was the transformation. And I want to highlight something here, son. There was one of two things. I was either trying to assert myself too much on you, or I was so wiped out from work, and you would be like, hey, Dad, you want to throw the ball? And it's so funny because Cats in the Cradle and the Up movie, I used to do quarterly events, and I used to play that Up video for motivation for the people, I was coaching and teaching, because that Up movie shows the journey of couple, pregnancy, the circumstances, and then dying. And every quarter I would see it, and it would just keep me motivated. And then I remember Cats in the Cradle and the words where it's like, hey, the father said he didn't have time for his son, and then the son grew old and he didn't have time for the father. And I was like, that was never going to be me, because my dad wasn't around. And like, I didn't want to duplicate what my dad did, like I'll never forget, like I finally made it to the All-Star team and I'm starting third base, and I look up in the stands and my dad's not there. Now, I made an amends to my dad when I quit drinking 17 years ago. Yeah. And I apologized to him and I said, Dad, and by the way, this is so huge. Clean it up with your father, because, you don't want to leave stuff between you and your dad, because this is what I learned, son. I treated all men like my dad because they all represented that male to male relationship. And I said, Dad, I'm sorry I drank. And he said, I'm sorry I wasn't there for you. And I'm sorry I hit you mentally and verbally made it difficult on you. And he apologized to me. And as you know, I walked him home to heaven when he was dying of, COVID and heart disease. So You know, it's like surrender is powerful. It's not a weakness. Surrender to like getting off the machinery of trying to hold it all together and look good and have it all together. The thing I learned too that you taught me was I thought I had to hold it all together. Like I couldn't share my emotions with you like I am right now. And like, what's that like when like you get the authentic self of a father? What is that like?
Well, it means a lot to like right now, like what you're kind of being emotional about, like you're showing that it means a lot to me that like you're willing to kind of open up and be emotional with me because it makes us want to understand you more as children. Like we want to see like our parents support us in what we're trying to do. Again, it's really as simple as that because people try to overcomplicate it. It's really not that complicated. Like I keep saying all the time, just be present, be there, be supportive, like open up when you're willing to. Because as children, we want to look up to parents as like the gold standard of what we're trying to do. Yeah. And if you show that emotional ability, we're going to take that and go, okay, maybe I can try and do that for like the people that I'm going to try.
Yeah. And it's really hard for high achieving men like me because like what happens is we're so tied to our identities at work and we're so tied to financial insecurity that we try to outrun it.
Yeah.
And so we become so obsessed by generating for our families that we miss out on, 5 turns into 10, 10 turns into 15, 15 into 20.
Right.
And then when you're empty nesting and it flies by. And so one of the things, why I created this is because, I do business development for entrepreneurs. One of the reasons why I decentralize them, one of the reasons why I get them out of the middle of their business and strip the identity and separate the identity of the business and the man so that when you're actually sitting in the stands watching your son play ball, by the way, you had a beautiful swing.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second, but keep going.
You had a beautiful swing and I loved watching you hit. And I couldn't be present in the stands because I was worried about all the things I needed to do at work and I needed some transition time. So my body was there, but my mind wasn't.
Yeah.
And so it took me a little while to be present, truly present, bodily present and spiritually and mentally present in the stands.
Yeah.
And that's part of why I do the business development of scaling a business and selling a business for entrepreneurs so that they can actually be present with their family.
Yeah, I think I wanted to go back to a couple points too that you brought up because I think the thing that you mentioned about like not being emotional and like, being so like tied down to certain things, like for your example, like high achieving men, they probably have this death grip on their emotions that they're trying to not let go. Like if you see my fist right now, this is probably what your emotions are looking like right now. Just death grip holding it. And then once you let go like this, then you start to see the spiral of people starting to understand you more and not being so pushy and being so tough all the time. Because that's what like people misconstrue men's mental health with this because it's the whole narrative of, just push down your emotions. You'll be fine. You could just, your job is to provide for your family, put food on the table, all this stuff.
Yep.
But you're a human being as well. Men are human beings. And, like, I understand that women have their own, like you mentioned at the top, like women have their own like mental health, like services they could go to and everything like that.
Well, they connect more.
And all that.
They talk.
Yeah, exactly. Like we should have the same narrative too and not just be told by men and women, hold it down. You're trying to provide for us.
Well, we're taught rub dirt in it.
Exactly. So if you just try and let it go and be more emotional and match that same emotional energy as women do, then we're all going to be great in our own ways. And I think another thing too, that I wanted to mention as well. I think for you, the biggest thing for me that I saw in you, I think the coolest thing that I saw from you, like in my years of living is, I think during that time where your mother, your father, your best friend, and Vera died, pretty much in a span of 6-8 months, pretty much in the same year.
Yeah.
Like that really tested you. And I remember telling you this like multiple times. I'm like, I don't know how I would do that personally. Dealing with 4 incredibly influential figures in your life. Gone. From various sicknesses, heart diseases, like COVID, all this stuff. Like I give you so much credit for that. because it takes someone with cojones to go through that and understand that that's important. And, you know, I'll always tell you this. I really appreciate you kind of going through that. And, you know, because I remember like having to go to grandma and grandpa's house, just you trying to sort through all the magazines that he would get or grandpa would get and trying to get healthcare situated. And I could see you getting tense, but I remember in my head, like saying to myself, like, it's for the right reasons.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to help your family. You're trying to keep this family going.
Yeah.
Because everyone around you is crumbling. And I've told you that before.
Yep.
And you were the one that's going to try and hold this thing together.
Yeah.
And that's the thing too. Like, you can be emotional, but when it's time to show up, show up.
Yep.
That's the biggest thing.
Yep.
Like, you can, of course, I'm saying emotional and I'm kind of being contradictory of what I said before about being like this all the time.
Yeah.
But use it for the right reasons. If you're going to be like this, use it for the right intentions, not for the wrong ones.
Right.
That's the biggest thing. And then the swing that you brought up before. He always said I had like a Robinson Cano, Rod Carew. If you're baseball fans and you understand what I'm talking about, cool. If not, and you think it's gibberish, fine. You could do your research if you want to. But you said I had like a Robinson Cano, Rod Carew swing that was kind of like this, a little bit with the mic. Cano Carew swing. I mean, it's crazy to think like playing in Little League. And I remember living in downtown. There was like a great like ballpark complex in that area. I would just play in all the time.
Yep.
And I never forget this like it was yesterday. I remember I was standing in the box. I'm a right-handed hitter, by the way. I'm standing in the box trying to hit a pitch. And there's this right-handed pitcher throwing. He's about to throw a fastball. He throws it right behind my head. I'm like, screw this. I'm never doing this again. Like I immediately after that happened, I'm like, I'm never doing this again. Absolutely not.
And
I'm not about to put myself in harm's way, throw behind people's head. And I told you this. I'm like, after this season, I'm quitting. I'm done. Yeah. I'm not about to get hit in the head with this. Like,
I remember.
I'm not about to get in a dangerous position.
And let's go back. I had the vision of you replacing Derek Jeter at shortstop.
Yeah, that was never happening.
No, I know.
That was never happening.
But this is
that's a high standard to live up to.
But this is a perfect example of like what I wanted for you.
Right.
And it's like you can't impose what you want on your kids. It just doesn't work.
It never works, guys. High achieving men listening to this right now, it never works.
But we think we can do anything.
No, you can't. Just know that you can't. You can't.
So,
it's not possible to do everything.
So a part of me died that day when you said
as
I'm
it
done.
should, because your son had different variables and journeys to go through at that point.
And I want to highlight this too. When you think something is dead, you never know how it's going to unfold. So here we are. We're now, fast forward from you were 10, now you're 20. Now you're calling baseball games and you're actually.
I want to clarify this for everybody watching. I'm taking an internship right now with the Bruce Whitecaps of the Cape Cod League. We're shooting this in Cape Cod right now in this beautiful studio. I was telling these guys earlier, this is like some LA recording studio type stuff.
Breezy
in
Studios,
Cape Cod.
baby.
Breezy Studios. Shout out Breezy Studios. These guys are killing
huge.
it. But again, back to my broadcasting stuff. I'm doing an internship with the Bruce Whitecaps. I'm a feature reporter this summer, covering the team, covering the players, coaches, everything. I'm kind of that like in-depth reporter for the broadcast. I shoot pieces for pregame shows and everything like that. So that's been really fun.
By the way,
and then
you
also
were speech delayed.
And now and I was speech delayed, guys. I was speech delayed. And now I'm here on a podcast talking about my life. And I'm doing the sports broadcasting media industry. It's been really fun. Like, I'll never forget. Do we want to talk about the Bob story? Because that kind of leads into what I was going to talk about with my journey. So I'll keep this short. If you guys have been, know me or know my father for a long time, you know the story that I'm about to say. But if not, strap in. It's going to be a fun one. So I remember we were flying from New York to Arizona. This was when we were still living in New York. And we would go to Arizona for like vacations and whatnot. And I think we were in like LaGuardia or JFK. I forgot what airport we were in exactly. I come out of the bathroom. I walk around that little like accelerator on the airport, the little like treadmill accelerator thing. I walk around that, get in the line for the boarding. And this guy goes, "Oh, Bob Costas is on our flight." I'm like, there's no shot. Bob Costas is on our flight? For you guys that don't know, Bob Costas, I got to get the name right, I got to enunciate, is one of the greatest broadcasters to ever do it. He's done baseball, basketball, football, the Olympics. He's been the face of the NBC network for decades. And once I heard him say that, I'm like, there's no shot he's on our flight. So he was like, okay, let's actually like relay a message to him and like just tell him about our story, that he wants to do sports broadcasting. It was like, cool, let's do it. So we talked to a flight attendant. The flight attendant comes and this guy always making sales flags him down and goes, hey, we'd like to pass the message to Bob Costas. He was like, yeah, sure. So the flight attendant goes to Bob, talks to him, walks back to us. I think we were like one row outside of first class. I don't know, generic TMI information. But he came back to us and he was like, hey, Bob was like, yeah, Bob loves your story. He would like to take a picture of you guys when you get off the jet bridge. And we're like, sweet, let's go. So once we landed, got off the jet bridge, waited for him. And it was you, me, and Mom. We were like kind of on the outside and we saw Bob. We're like, hey, Bob, this is like Rome, Judith, Gary, Katie, whatever. Can you come take a picture? He's like, yeah, sure. So we took a picture. You had a close-up picture. I remember you could just see my face and his face. You weren't as good as photography as you are now, thank God, because you were just like this the whole time at my face. But anyway, that's besides the point. And then we started walking down this. It was before I renovated this terminal, so it was a long hallway. And as we were talking, like I think you brought up a story about how like you guys met at a bar in the 90s or something, and he was like, "That's a keeper" or something. I don't know.
I took out a $100 bill and he goes, Judy, this Gary's a keeper, because I bought him a drink with $100 bill.
See, I don't know if he was drunk that night or if he was sober or not.
No, we were at Broadway show at intermission.
Oh, okay. I thought it was at a bar or something.
No, Broadway show at intermission.
All right, well, that's besides the point. Anyway, I'm going way off track here, but I'm gonna try and keep this centralized. So we're walking down a long hallway. We're talking about the keeper thing. And then Bob goes, oh, he taps my dad on the shoulder. He's like, oh, take my number. And we're like, what? Are you for real? Like, he was like, yeah, take my number. I'm doing, at that time, he was still doing Football Night in America for NBC. And he was on the field with Tony Dungy. And no, it was, Tony Hines Ward. I think it was Tony Dungy was still there. Collinsworth was there. And he was like, hey, I'm going to be on the field for the game, like on Sunday, the Cardinal Seahawks game. I'll get you guys on the field. We'll take a picture on set, on the field. And we're like, my dad and I are like, what? Like our jaws are on the floor. We're like, oh my God, this is insane. So fast forward to that day, we drive to State Farm Stadium, at that time, University of Phoenix Stadium. We walk down on the field. They were airing some sort of feature piece while we were taking a picture. So we had to rush up there, take a picture. I was straight in the middle. Bob was to my right. Forget who was on my left. I think it was like Collinsworth. Oh no, Collinsworth was with you, I think, in the background. I think it was Hines Ward.
Right.
And then you and Chris Collinsworth were in the back, just kind of over me like this.
Yeah.
Took the picture. That moment right there was probably when it unlocked. And then once we walked back up to the main concourse, I remember hugging you and I was crying. I'm like, oh. And in my head, as I was in your arms crying, in my head, I'm like, I have to do this. That was my aha moment to be like, that is what I want to do, because I want to create moments like that for other people.
Yep.
And I remember saying that in my head, and I'm like, ever since then, I never looked back at all. Never looked back.
Yep.
And then progressively on my broadcasting journey, I broadcasted play-by-play for my high school varsity basketball team for a number of years. That was kind of the start of me actually like doing things. Then I went to different camps and different things to just refine my craft. Then what do you know? I get accepted into Arizona State, which was my dream school. Ironically, because people think it's a party school, but it has one of, if not the best journalism schools in the country. So I'm like, okay, let's get after this. Let's go. And then I'm currently going into my junior year at the Cronkite School, and I've manifested everything leading up to this. And I've worked on my craft. I refined it, and not to mention, again, for the 100th time, I was speech delayed before doing this, guys. Speech delayed. And now I'm out here pursuing my dreams, doing what I want to do. And it's all been just a great experience. There's a lot of highs, a lot of lows in it as well. But, I'm learning so much. Like even this internship now with Brewster, like I'm doing so much, learning so much, getting to work with the team, learning how to work in certain areas. Like it's been really fun getting to know everyone throughout this process. And just thank you to everyone that's been a part of this journey. Yeah. And, like it's just been incredible for me to kind of get to that point now and be like, hey, like I am achieving something here.
Yep.
Like I can do something with this. And it's been really fun to kind of get in the industry, get in it a little bit. And every time I'd be like, oh, well, I'm not getting the gig that I want. Like I'm pissed off, and you're always like, just play the game. Like, it's literally the game of just being in it, and the longer you're in it, the longer you're gonna stay in it, and the longer you're gonna get, the more opportunities are gonna come to you. And one more point about this too before I get back to you.
You're taking over.
I know.
Perfect. I love it. I lost
again.
my time.
This is the media in me coming out. I'm sorry. I know he's the host of the show. But I think the other day, like, I didn't get like a football call for something for our student radio station at ASU, and I was so mad about it. And you were like, "Well, this isn't the only avenue you could go into. There's other avenues that are there for you." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool." So what I did was I transferred my anger into creating a broadcasting reel that I did, just compiling stuff for my sophomore year and applying for another internship position that allows me to do broadcasting for Arizona high school sports. And what do you know? I followed up about a couple weeks later, had a call with one of the broadcast guys, and they were like, "Hey, we'd love to have you for, certain games and whatnot." We're still trying to figure out the details and whatnot. But yeah, I'm definitely, I'm in it to do some broadcasting stuff for Arizona sports this year. It's for Bamboo Sports. It's some like newish like media company that they're hiring a lot of interns from the Cronkite School at Arizona. So Arizona State, not Arizona. It's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, I'm really excited to get going on that. And that was all because of him, because he was the one that was like, "Hey, you can go in other directions. It's not this only thing." So I told you this at dinner the other day, and I wanted to thank you for that again, because you were able to open up that door for me and be like, "Okay, let me go in this direction," because I saw that there was a direction there and I can go in there. And you said too, like, one door closes, another opens. And that's really what that was. So I'm done with my jargon. You've heard me speak too much.
No, you're doing great. It's wonderful. No, I'm sure all the guys, and I know we have a lot of wives on the podcast as well, observing. And so I'm sure you're helping a lot of people by sharing yourself. And I really appreciate it.
Of course.
I want to move fast forward to a time that's really important for parents, and it's really empty nesting. You're our only child. We decided that we weren't going to have any more kids once we knew that, we had to put all of our energy into you.
Mm-hmm.
And, as we go along this journey, there's ebbs and flows of like connection and disconnection. And I thought I was connected to you, but when you were 18, getting ready to the summer before you're leaving for school.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, it was the most amazing thing that you did was you came to me and said, "Dad, I don't feel connected with you. Would you be up for having a therapy session if I got a therapist for us?" And I was floored, because, tell me about your thinking behind it and what happened for you.
Well, I felt like at that point, I was still trying to figure out the connection basis. Like, I felt like that point was also a big breaking point in like our relationship as well. Because before that, up to that point, like we always had, not always, but most of the time I've had arguments, just kind of not seeing eye to eye on certain things.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, well, let's try and figure out who we are as people and how we can best help each other out.
Yeah.
And there's still been like a couple instances of like breakdowns here and there, but more or less after that point, it's gotten a lot better. So when we sat down with that guy, I remember like, I felt like you were still kind of holding something in. And then the minute you started talking, you were crying just like you did a couple minutes ago.
Yep.
Bawling your eyes out. And in my head, I'm like, oh my God. That opened my eyes, because I'm like, okay, well, I've never seen that before.
Exactly.
And I've had a lot of instances after that where I'm like, I've never seen that before, and that before, and that before, and that before.
Yep.
So all this is like new for me, actually.
Right.
Because you were never like this when I was like a child or a teenager or whatnot. You're starting to become this now.
Yep.
And I'm just starting to see this now.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing too. I think that therapy session really helped us out, kind of get to know each other a little bit more, understand what makes us tick, and how we can kind of help each other out.
Well, you used the fist of like holding it all together. I thought I had to hold it all together, and I was going through a really tough time. The therapist said, "Do you know why we're here?" I said, "Yeah, I'm blown away. My son wants to be more connected with me. I think it's fabulous." And he goes, "Well, tell me about what you're dealing with." And that was when I started breaking down. I went inside and I go, "Well, I'm really sad. I'm losing my only son to school. I'm going to be here, and my wife and I like." That's weird.
Right.
And because we had so much attention on you, taking care of you and stuff. And Judith, the thing I love, day one when I met her, she goes, if we're going to have kids, our relationship comes first.
Mm.
She's just insane, intuitive, incredible. And that didn't make sense because most parents, when they have kids, they focus their attention on the kids and lose themselves. And she made sure that we always had date night and structure and like, held it together when I was traveling around the world and stuff, doing all the stuff. And she always held that as the primary and then you as secondary, which seems weird as at a priority. But the main thing for me was like, I did not share myself. I thought I had to hold it all together. So I was like really sad that you were going to school and I wasn't going to see you every day. We were moving from New York to Arizona, which is weird because, we're back east people and it's like we had a second home in Arizona, but like we didn't live there. It's a different world.
Yeah.
I was getting my hip replaced.
That was a whole nother instance of just
there was
going on at that point.
It was all at one time. And we think as high achieving men, we need to hold it all together. And really all our kids want, all of our wives want, and really all that we want is just to like, if we're having a hard day, if we're sad, if we're scared, just say that.
Right.
And you gave me permission that day to know that, oh my gosh, holding it all together is not what he or Jude wants.
No, that's what we never wanted in the first place.
I didn't know that. We didn't know that.
Right.
We high achieving men don't know that.
Yeah. And now you guys do that. Now you do know that because if you're emotional with us, it makes us a lot better.
And guess what? Authenticity, transparency. Judith and I had an argument and I go, I was scared, honey. I'm sorry. The minute I said I was scared, she has compassion for me. She gives me a hug and we move on. We used to be like arguing it out. And meanwhile, all I was scared and I reacted. I didn't do that response in my ability when things caved in. So I really want to thank you for really changing the trajectory of our relationship. Like I feel super close to you. I feel like I don't have to assert myself. I feel like I could just show up, and being a dad is just showing up and having just quiet presence. And by the way, this leaked into my leadership at work. I used to think that I had to micromanage, stay on top of, do all this stuff. Didn't have to do any of that.
Because you just got to trust other people's process.
Exactly. Man, this was incredible, son. Will you come back again?
I'd love to. This is a lot of fun. I'd love to do a part 2 of this. This was a ton of fun.
Perfect. Well, if you really enjoyed this and it was valuable, share it with a man, share it with somebody, share it with sons and husbands and wives, and reach out. Come and visit with me. Get on my calendar, and we'll talk about how to do this in your life with your business and then with your family. And where you could be in charge of your future, a connected, powerful presence in your family life and at work, and have everything work. Have your business work, have your fatherhood work, have your relationship with your wife work, have it all work because it's all possible no matter what circumstances you have. So what parting thoughts do you want to share and leave our high achieving men with?
Man, that you just put me on the spot already. As if you didn't already. But I think the biggest thing that I'll say again is just be present for your kids. Because that's the most important thing is to be emotional, be supportive, be all you can be for your children because that's all that matters. And that's really the biggest thing. And, just have fun along the way and, just don't give up on your children if they're going through autism or any other mental disorder or anything like that because there always is an avenue. Even though you might not see it yet, there is an avenue. And sometimes I have to tell myself that with anything in life because there's always an avenue to work through things. And you teach me that, mom teaches me that, everybody else teaches me that as well. And I'll teach you guys that at home as well. So
beautiful. He's from Katie. I'm his proud dad, and I'll see you when I see you.